38 degrees in Miami Monday morning. That is not a typo. South Florida is about to experience temperatures they haven't seen in years, and it is happening right as the most powerful Arctic blast of the winter wraps around a bomb cyclone that could dump historic snow totals from Georgia to Maine. Your power grid, your heating system, your morning commute, all of it is about to be tested in ways we haven't seen this decade. I am going to tell you exactly when this hits your city, what to expect hour by hour, and why the next 72 hours are setting up something truly extraordinary. But first, I need you to do something for me right now. Drop your city in the comments, just your city name, because tomorrow's video is going to have personalized timing for every single location you all mention. And trust me, you're going to want that information. Let me get you the critical timing right now for the major metros. New York City, you are looking at snow beginning Saturday evening, intensifying overnight into Sunday, with the heaviest bands likely Sunday morning through early afternoon. Philadelphia, very similar window, Saturday night through Sunday midday. Boston, you are on the back end of this. Sunday into Monday is your time frame, and we'll talk about why that might actually be worse for you in a few minutes. Washington, D.C., Saturday afternoon is when you start seeing the first flakes, but the real show begins Saturday night. Charlotte, this could start as early as Friday night for you, and Raleigh, you are in that same Friday night into Saturday morning window. Atlanta, you might dodge the worst of this, but we need to talk about what's coming after the storm because that affects you just as much. Right now, as I am recording this on Tuesday, January 27th, we are 72 hours away from what could be one of the most significant winter storms of the decade for the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Southeast. I say could be for a very specific reason, and this is something we are going to come back to multiple times today. The models are showing us something remarkable, but they are also showing us just enough disagreement that we can get locked into any single outcome yet. This is exactly the kind of setup where tomorrow's model runs are going to be absolutely critical, and I'm going to explain why as we go through this. Let's start with what we know with high confidence. There's a clipper system moving through the Great Lakes right now. Nothing special about that on its own, but there's also a significant piece of energy in the Gulf of Mexico. And when I say significant, I mean we retracking moisture and energy that's unusually strong for late January. These two systems are going to phase together off the East Coast, and when they do, we re-looking at rapid intensification. The term you re-hearing thrown around is bomb cyclone, and that S not hype. That S a technical term for a storm that strengthens extremely quickly, and this one is forecast to do exactly that. By Sunday morning, February 1st, we could be looking at a central pressure of 965 millibars off the coast of North Carolina. For context, that S hurricane strength in terms of pressure, that S not a winter storm, that S a meteorological monster. But here S where it gets tricky, and this is what I need you to understand. A storm that powerful doesn't mean heavy snow for everyone. In fact, with a storm this strong, the difference between 2 feet of snow and nothing but cold rain can come down to 50 miles. The western edge of that circulation is where the snow is. The eastern edge is where you get the rain, or you get nothing at all because it's offshore. Right now, the GFS model and the European model are showing this storm tracking mostly offshore, which would make it what we call a fish storm. Great for the fish, not so great for snow lovers along I-95. But, and this is a big but, we still 4 days out. And I've seen storms like this shift track at the last minute and absolutely bury places that thought they were going to be spared. Let me show you what the models are showing right now, and remember, this is going to change. The GFS has the heaviest snow from northeastern South Carolina through eastern North Carolina. We talking about areas around Greenville, North Carolina, potentially seeing well over a foot of snow. Some model runs are showing 18 to 24 inches in isolated spots. That would be absolutely crippling for that region. The same model shows decent snow totals, talking 6 to 10 inches, stretching down into Charleston and even showing a few inches in Savannah, Georgia. Savannah doesn't get snow like that. When they do, the city shuts down. Further north, the GFS is less generous. It keeps most of the heavy precipitation offshore, which means places like Norfolk might see 6 to 8 inches, but Richmond could see less than that, and Washington, D.C. might only pick up 3 to 5 inches in this scenario. Philadelphia, New York, Boston, you are looking at the possibility of this being a near miss in the GFS solution. Now let us talk about the European model, because this model absolutely nailed our last storm. It was the MVP, the star performer, and it had the track pinned down days in advance when other models were wobbling all over the place. So what's it showing now? It's remarkably similar to the GFS, actually. Same intensity, same offshore track for the most part, same focus on the Carolinas and southeastern Virginia for the heaviest snow. Virginia Beach could see over a foot of snow in the European solution. That would be an all-timer for them. We were talking about a storm that gets talked about for decades. Southern Maryland around the Chesapeake, you could see similar totals. But again, I-95 from D.C. to Boston largely gets spared in this scenario, with the storm just far enough offshore to rob those cities of the heaviest precipitation. Here's what's making this interesting, though. When you blend all the models together, the national blend of models takes the GFS, the European, the Canadian, the Icon, and several others, and averages them out. And when you do that, you get snow for I-95. Not historic amounts, but meaningful totals. The blend is showing 7 inches for Washington, D.C., 7 inches for Philadelphia, 7 inches for New York City, and 9 to 10 inches for Boston on top of the 2 feet they already have on the ground from the last storm. So why is the blend showing more for I-95 than the individual models we just talked about? Because several models in the ensemble are showing a track closer to the coast. Not the GFS or European, but other models are keeping this storm close enough to the shoreline to bring significant snow to the major metros. This is the kind of forecast situation where we need to remain flexible. If you are in Raleigh right now hearing about the potential for 2 feet of snow, I need you to not get emotionally invested in that number. I've seen this movie before. 4 days out, the models show a bullseye somewhere. Everyone gets excited or starts panicking, and then the storm shifts and that bullseye moves 100 miles in either direction. Could Raleigh get crushed with historic snow? Absolutely. Could Raleigh end up with rain while somewhere like Richmond gets the jackpot? Also, absolutely. This is why I am going to be updating you tomorrow with the latest model runs, because 48 hours from now we were going to have much better clarity on the exact track. The one thing I am very confident about, regardless of where the snow falls, is what comes after this storm. And honestly, for a lot of you, this might be more impactful than the snow itself. An Arctic blast is going to wrap around the backside of this low-pressure system, and I am not talking about cold like we've seen so far this winter. I am talking about potentially the most powerful Arctic outbreak of the entire season. This is going to send temperatures plummeting 30 degrees below average across massive sections of the country, and it's going to drive cold air further south than we typically see. Let me paint you a picture of what Monday morning looks like in terms of temperatures, and I need you to understand these are not final numbers, but they read what the models are consistently showing. Miami, 38 degrees. West Palm Beach, 34. We could see freezing temperatures in Vero Beach, in Arcadia, in Sebring. Orlando is forecast to hit 31 degrees. Think about that. Orlando, where people go to escape winter, is going to be below freezing. Jacksonville could see 28 degrees. Tallahassee, 24. This is the kind of cold that causes serious infrastructure problems in Florida because nothing is built for this. But let's move north and see how cold it gets. Savannah, Georgia, potentially 26 degrees Monday morning. Charleston, South Carolina, 23. Myrtle Beach, 22. Wilmington, North Carolina, 19 degrees. Raleigh, 16. These are brutal numbers for the South, but wait, there's more. Norfolk, Virginia, 18 degrees. Richmond, 15. Roanoke, 12. Washington, D.C. is looking at 12 degrees Monday morning. Philadelphia, 11. New York City, 13. Boston, 9 degrees. And that S with wind chills making it feel significantly colder. When you factor in the wind coming off that ocean behind this departing storm system, it's going to feel like 0 or below 0 for much of the Northeast Monday morning. The Midwest isn't being spared either. Chicago is looking at 4 degrees, Indianapolis 6, Columbus, Ohio 8 degrees, Louisville, Kentucky 10, Nashville, Tennessee, and this is particularly concerning given the power outages they are still dealing with from recent storms. Nashville could see 14 degrees Monday morning, Memphis 18, St. Louis 6 degrees. Even Dallas, Texas is forecast to drop to 26 degrees. Houston could see 32, right at freezing. This is incredibly widespread cold, and it's not a quick shot either. This is going to settle in and persist. Now, I mentioned something earlier about Boston that I want to come back to. Boston already has 2 feet of snow on the ground from our recent storm. They were going to add to that with this system, maybe another 6 to 10 inches, possibly more if the track shifts slightly west. But then you are going to lock in temperatures that stay below freezing for an extended period. That means all that snow, it's not going anywhere. You're not getting a melt period. You're not getting a warm up. You're just getting more cold piled on top of existing cold, and that creates compounding problems. Snow removal becomes harder because you can push it where you normally push it because it's already full from the last storm. Roofs that are already loaded with snow get more weight added. Side streets that didn't get fully cleared the first time definitely aren't getting cleared now. This is the kind of situation where a city's winter infrastructure really gets tested. Let me talk about Maine for a second because I don't think they were getting enough attention in this forecast. Portland, you are looking at potential snow totals of 10 to 12 inches from this system starting Sunday and continuing into Monday. Bangor, potentially similar amounts, maybe a bit less. Augusta, 8 to 10 inches. But here is what concerns me for Maine. You are getting this snow Sunday into Monday, and then temperatures are going to crash. We're talking about single-digit highs Monday and Tuesday. Portland might not get above 8 degrees for a high on Monday. Overnight lows could drop below 0. Bangor, you could see daytime highs around 4 or 5 degrees, with overnight lows well below 0, and this is happening right as you trying to clean up from a significant snow event. That's dangerous for cleanup crews, that's dangerous for anyone who loses power, and it's going to make everything more difficult. Vermont and New Hampshire, we need to talk about you too. Burlington, Vermont, you are on the northwestern edge of this system, so your snow totals might be lighter, maybe 4 to 6 inches, but the cold that follows is going to be severe, single-digit highs for multiple days. Manchester, New Hampshire, you are in a better position for snow, potentially 8 to 10 inches, but same story with the brutal cold that follows. Concord, similar situation, and here's something nobody is really talking about yet. When you get cold, this severe over snowpack that's already established, you create ice issues that persist. Black ice on roads becomes a multi-day problem because nothing is melting during the day to refreeze at night. It is just staying frozen all the time. Let's shift to upstate New York because this is going to be interesting. Syracuse, you live for snow. You measure yourselves by snow totals every winter. This storm might give you 8 to 12 inches depending on the exact track. Rochester, similar story, maybe 6 to 10 inches. Buffalo, you're on the western edge, so you might see less from this particular system, maybe 4 to 6, but you are going to get hammered by lake effect after this storm passes. Those winds wrapping around the low, coming across Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, that's going to set up textbook lake effect conditions. We could see an additional 12 to 18 inches from lake effect Monday into Tuesday for the traditional snowbelt areas. Albany, New York, you are in an interesting spot. You could see anywhere from 6 to 12 inches from the main storm system, but the uncertainty in your forecast is higher than most locations because you are right on that dividing line between heavy snow and moderate snow, depending on where the low tracks. If it trends 50 miles further west, you could be talking about over a foot. If it trends 50 miles further east, you might only see 4 or 5 inches. Tomorrow's models are going to be critical for you. Connecticut, let's go from west to east. Danbury, you are looking at potential snow totals of 6 to 9 inches starting Saturday night. Hartford, 7 to 11 inches, similar time frame. New Haven, 8 to 12 inches. And then the eastern part of the state, you could see some of the higher totals for Connecticut, potentially 10 to 14 inches. But here's what I want you to focus on. In Connecticut, the timing has you getting snow Saturday night through Sunday, and then the cold settles in Sunday night into Monday. So you are going to have a very narrow window Sunday afternoon and evening to get cleanup done before everything just locks down in the deep freeze. Rhode Island, Providence, you are looking at 8 to 12 inches potentially, with the storm moving through Saturday night into Sunday. Block Island could see slightly lower amounts, maybe 6 to 10, because you are going to get more ocean influence, keeping temperatures slightly warmer initially. But both locations are going to experience that Arctic plunge Monday into Tuesday. Massachusetts, we've talked about Boston, but let S cover the rest of the state. Worcester, URE at elevation. URE going to do well with this storm if it tracks anywhere close to current forecasts. 10 to 15 inches is possible. Springfield, you are on the western side, so maybe 8 to 12 inches. Cape Cod, this is where it gets interesting. The Cape might see more rain than snow initially because you'll be on the warmer side of the storm. But as it intensifies and cold air wraps in, you could see a changeover to heavy snow Sunday morning. Hyannis might end up with 4 to 8 inches depending on how quickly that changeover happens. Martha S. Vineyard and Nantucket, similar story, you are going to be battling that rain-snow line. New Jersey needs a detailed breakdown because there is going to be significant variation across the state. Newark, you looking at potential snow totals of 6 to 10 inches starting Saturday night. Trenton, very similar, maybe 7 to 11 inches. Atlantic City, where we need to talk about that rain-snow line. You could start as rain Saturday afternoon, transition to snow Saturday night, and if you get enough time of snow, you could still pick up 6 to 8 inches. But you could also see mostly rain if the storm tracks a bit further offshore. This is one of those locations where the forecast is going to be refined significantly over the next 24 to 48 hours. North Jersey, areas around Paterson and Morristown, you're in a good position for snow if this verifies anywhere close to current models. 8 to 12 inches is reasonable to plan for. Pennsylvania, let's start in Philadelphia, which we've mentioned at 7 inches in the model blend, but that could easily go up or down depending on track adjustments. Allentown and the Lehigh Valley, you are looking at 8 to 12 inches potentially. Harrisburg, 6 to 10 inches. Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, you're in the northern tier, you could see 10 to 14 inches. Pittsburgh, you're on the western edge of this system, so your snow totals are going to be much lighter, maybe 2 to 4 inches, but you're still going to get crushed by the cold that follows. Erie, you're going to benefit from lake effect after the main system passes, potentially adding another 6 to 12 inches on top of whatever you get from the primary storm. Delaware, the entire state, is in play for significant snow. Wilmington, 7 to 11 inches. Dover, 6 to 10 inches. Rehoboth Beach, this is going to depend heavily on that rain-snow line, but you could still see 4 to 8 inches if the changeover happens quickly enough. Maryland, we've talked about southern Maryland potentially seeing big totals. Let's break it down. Baltimore, 6 to 10 inches starting Saturday night. Annapolis, similar range. Ocean City, you are right on the coast. You are going to be fighting that rain-snow line, but if you can get established as snow, you could pick up 6 to 9 inches. Frederick, you are west of Baltimore, maybe 8 to 12 inches. Cumberland, you are in the western mountains, and while you won to see the heaviest from the coastal storm, you will still pick up 4 to 6 inches. Virginia, and this is where it gets really interesting. We've mentioned Virginia Beach potentially seeing historic totals. Let's quantify that. If current models verify, Virginia Beach could see 14 to 20 inches of snow. That would be absolutely paralyzing. Norfolk, very similar, 12 to 18 inches. Richmond, this is fascinating because Richmond could see anywhere from 8 to 16 inches depending on the exact track. You're right in that zone of maximum uncertainty. Charlottesville, 6 to 10 inches. Roanoke, 4 to 8 inches. Northern Virginia, let's cover it. Arlington and Alexandria, 7 to 11 inches. Fairfax, 8 to 12. Manassas, 9 to 13. Winchester, you are in the Shenandoah Valley, maybe 6 to 10 inches. West Virginia, you are not going to see the heaviest totals from this storm, but you are still getting snow and you are definitely getting the brutal cold after. Charleston, West Virginia, 4 to 6 inches of snow, then temperatures dropping into the single digits. Morgantown, 5 to 8 inches. Martinsburg, you are closer to the action, maybe 8 to 12 inches. North Carolina, this is where we could see historic snowfall. We've mentioned Greenville potentially seeing over a foot. Let's be more specific about the state. Raleigh, you could see anywhere from 10 to 20 inches depending on the track. That S, not a typo. If this storm tracks just right for you, you could be approaching 2 feet of snow. Cary, same situation. Durham, same. Chapel Hill, same. The entire triangle could be looking at historic snow. Charlotte, you are further west, so your totals might be more in the 8 to 14 inch range, but that S still absolutely massive for Charlotte. Greensboro, 10 to 16 inches is possible. Winston-Salem, similar. Asheville, you are in the mountains. You all see snow, but maybe lighter amounts from this particular system, 4 to 8 inches. Wilmington, you are on the coast, and this is going to be critical. You could see anywhere from 6 to 12 inches if you establish as snow quickly. The Outer Banks, this is tricky. You are going to see some snow, but exact amounts are really uncertain right now. Could be anywhere from 3 to 10 inches, depending on precise track and timing. South Carolina, let's go city by city. Columbia, you could see 6 to 12 inches of snow. That would be extremely disruptive for Columbia. Greenville, South Carolina, not to be confused with Greenville, North Carolina, you were looking at 4 to 8 inches. Spartanburg, similar range. Charleston, this is where I am really watching closely because Charleston could see anywhere from 8 to 14 inches if the models are right. That would be absolutely crippling for Charleston. They don't have the infrastructure for that kind of snow. Myrtle Beach, Weavy mentioned potentially 4 inches, but you could see up to 8 depending on how this tracks. Hilton Head, you might only see 2 to 4 inches, but that S still significant for that area. Georgia, we've talked about Savannah potentially seeing snow. Let us quantify it. Savannah could pick up 2 to 4 inches, possibly up to 6 in a best-case scenario for snow lovers. That would be huge for Savannah. Atlanta, you are far enough west and inland that you might dodge most of the snow from this system. You could see an inch or 2 Saturday, but the real story for you is the cold that comes after. Athens, Georgia, maybe 3 to 5 inches. Augusta, you are on the border, you could see 4 to 8 inches. Macon, probably 1 to 3 inches. But again, every city in Georgia needs to focus on what comes Monday and Tuesday with those temperatures. Now let S jump back to the Ohio Valley because we haven't covered it enough. Cincinnati, you are looking at maybe 2 to 4 inches of snow from this system, but then temperatures Monday morning could drop to around 4 degrees. Daytime highs might not get above 15 for several days straight. Columbus, we mentioned 8 degrees Monday morning, but let's talk about the days after. Tuesday morning could be even colder, potentially down to 2 or 3 degrees. Wednesday doesn't look much better. Cleveland, you're going to get some lake effect in addition to the main system. Could be looking at 6 to 10 inches total when you add it all up, and then temperatures crash to near zero. Detroit, Michigan, you are not in the main snow zone for this storm. You might pick up 2 to 4 inches, but the cold is coming for you too. Monday morning lows around zero, possibly a few degrees below. Grand Rapids, similar situation. Lansing, same story. Ann Arbor, you're going to see that 2 to 4 inches, then the freeze. Kentucky, we mentioned Nashville earlier, but let us cover the whole state. Louisville, 14 degrees Monday morning after potentially 2 to 4 inches of snow. Lexington, 12 degrees, similar snow amounts. Bowling Green, 16 degrees. Paducah, 18 degrees. The concern for all of Kentucky is the duration of this cold. This isn't a 24-hour event. This is going to persist through most of next week. Tennessee, Nashville is looking at 14 degrees Monday morning, and if there are still power outages from recent storms, that is extremely dangerous. Knoxville, 12 degrees. Chattanooga, 16 degrees. Memphis, 18 degrees, which is still well below freezing. And Memphis isn't used to sustained cold like this. Let me talk about the Carolinas and Virginia one more time because I want to make sure you understand the compounding nature of what is about to happen. First, you get the snow Saturday into Sunday, that S problem number 1. Then the storm intensifies rapidly off your coast, which means winds are going to be significant. We're talking about potential sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour with gusts up to 50 or 60. That S problem number 2. Then temperatures crash Sunday night into Monday. That S problem number 3. What this creates is a scenario where you have heavy snow blown around by high winds creating drifts and near blizzard conditions, followed by extreme cold that makes cleanup dangerous and ensures nothing melts for days. This is a compounding threat scenario, and it's why this particular storm is getting so much attention. I keep saying tomorrow S models are going to be critical, and I want to explain why more specifically. Right now, we are at the range where small changes in the initial conditions can lead to big changes in the outcome. A storm system that S still forming over the Gulf of Mexico, its exact position and strength today, Tuesday, will influence where it goes by Saturday. The phasing between the Clipper and the Gulf system, if they phase a few hours earlier or later, that changes the track. The models are going to ingest new data tonight, run overnight, and we'll have fresh guidance Wednesday morning. That guidance will either reinforce what we're seeing now or show a shift. If we see consistency between today S models and tomorrow S models, confidence goes way up. If we see a shift, especially in the European model, which has been our most reliable recently, then we adjust expectations. What I need you to understand is that this is not a situation where I can tell you with certainty exactly what is going to happen. Anyone who is telling you with 100% confidence that your specific city is getting exactly X inches of snow is overselling their forecast ability. What I can tell you is the potential is there for a major storm. The atmospheric setup is favorable, the energy is present, but the precise track, which determines who gets buried and who gets grazed, that S still being determined. This is why you need to check back tomorrow, because 24 hours from now, we're going to have much better information about that track. Let's talk about the extended pattern after this storm, because this isn't just a one-and-done situation. After this storm moves through and the Arctic air settles in, the pattern we are seeing in the long-range models doesn't show a quick return to warmth for the east. We're relooking at potentially 7 to 10 days of sustained below-average temperatures from Florida to Maine. That's unusual. Usually these Arctic blasts are intense but brief. This one looks like it has staying power. The reason has to do with the position of the jet stream and a blocking pattern that is setting up over Greenland. When you get Greenland blocking, it tends to keep cold air locked in over the eastern United States for extended periods. Now, there is some good news in the long range, but it is not for the east. The west is going to see temperatures moderate and even go above average. Places like Phoenix, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, you're going to see pleasant weather next week while the east freezes. Eventually, that warmth in the west will try to expand eastward. We might see some moderation in the northern plains by the end of next week. Minneapolis and Bismarck could get back to near-average temperatures. But for the I-95 corridor for the southeast, for the Ohio Valley, it's looking cold for at least the next week to 10 days. I want to address something that I know people are thinking. Is this pattern ever going to break? Are we stuck in winter forever? The answer is no, of course not. Patterns always flip eventually. We will see a pattern change at some point. But for now, for the immediate future, we re-locked in. This is winter doing what winter does, and it's going to persist for a while longer. If you are tired of the cold, I understand. If you are exhausted by snow removal, I get it. But the atmosphere doesn't care about our fatigue. It's going to do what it's going to do, and right now what it's doing is delivering a significant winter storm followed by brutal cold. Let me talk about preparations, because if you in the potential impact zone, you need to be thinking about this now, not Friday night when everyone else is at the grocery store. If you live anywhere from South Carolina northward through Maine, you should assume there's at least a chance you are getting significant snow, and you should prepare accordingly. That means having food for several days, because if you get a foot of snow followed by extreme cold, you might not want to or be able to get out for a few days. Make sure you have any medications you need. Make sure you have a way to heat your home if power goes out. That's especially critical given the extreme cold that follows. A power outage in 20-degree weather is inconvenient. A power outage in 5-degree weather can be life-threatening. Check on neighbors, especially elderly neighbors, or anyone who might have difficulty managing in extreme conditions. Make sure your car has winter supplies, including a scraper, shovel, blankets, and some non-perishable food in case you get stranded. Charge all your devices before the storm hits. If you have a generator, make sure it's ready to go and you have adequate fuel. And for the love of everything, if you're going to run a generator, do it outside, away from windows and doors. Every winter storm, we hear about carbon monoxide poisoning from generators run in garages or too close to homes. Don to be that story. For the Carolinas specifically, I want to emphasize this. You're not used to handling snow like what's being forecast. Your infrastructure isn't designed for it. Your driving experience might be limited in it. If this storm delivers anywhere close to what's being shown, my strong advice is to stay home. Don't try to drive in a foot of snow if you don't have experience with that. Don't assume your vehicle can handle it just because it is an SUV. Snow this deep requires specific skills and equipment to navigate safely. The best preparation is to not need to go anywhere for a couple of days. Let me circle back to one city I haven't given enough attention to, and that's Washington, D.C. The nation's capital has a complicated relationship with snow. When they get it, things tend to shut down pretty thoroughly. Current model consensus has you at around 6 to 8 inches, which is enough to close schools, impact federal government operations, and create significant transportation issues. But here's what I am watching for DC specifically. You are right on that line between heavy snow and moderate snow. If the storm tracks 50 miles further west than currently forecast, you could be looking at 12 to 15 inches. If it tracks 50 miles further east, you might only see 3 to 4. That is a huge difference, and right now we're just not sure which way it's going to go. By tomorrow evening, we should have much better clarity for DC specifically. I also want to talk about coastal flooding potential, because with a storm this intense, wind-driven coastal flooding is a real concern. Areas along the mid-Atlantic coast, particularly the Outer Banks, the Virginia coast, Delaware beaches, southern New Jersey coast, you could see significant coastal flooding Saturday night into Sunday as the storm intensifies. This isn't just about waves. This is about water being pushed inland by sustained, strong winds. If you live in a low-lying coastal area, you need to be monitoring forecasts for potential evacuation notices. This probably won't be catastrophic coastal flooding, but it could be significant enough to impact beachfront properties and low roads. Let us talk about the human impact of cold this severe, because I think sometimes we talk about temperatures as just numbers and we forget what they actually mean. When you re-looking at wind chills below zero, that S cold enough to cause frostbite on exposed skin in less than 30 minutes. For some areas Monday morning, we could be looking at wind chills of 10 to 20 below zero. That means if you are outside without proper protection, you can get frostbite in 15 to 20 minutes. If you have to be outside, cover all exposed skin. Multiple layers are better than one thick layer, and limit your time outside to what is absolutely necessary. For homeless populations in cities from Atlanta to Boston, this cold is extremely dangerous. If you know of anyone without adequate shelter, please reach out to local services. Most cities have extreme cold protocols where shelters extend hours or open additional capacity. This is the kind of cold that kills, and we need to take it seriously as a community responsibility. Let me address the models one more time because I think it's important you understand what we are seeing and why there is uncertainty. The GFS model runs 4 times a day. The European model runs twice a day. Each time they run, they ingest new observational data and produce a new forecast. Right now, the GFS and European are fairly aligned on the overall pattern: strong storm, mostly offshore track, heavy snow for Carolinas, brutal cold following. But other models in the ensemble, including the Canadian and Icon models, are showing tracks closer to the coast. When you average all of these together in the national blend, you get snow for more locations because you reincorporating those solutions that bring the storm closer. The question is, which set of models is going to be right? Based on recent performance, I lean toward the European having the best handle on this, but the European has also shown some run-to-run consistency issues with this system. Yesterday, S European model was actually a bit further west than today S. That S, not a huge shift, but it S enough to notice. If tomorrow S European shifts further west, that would be a significant development and would increase snow chances for I-95. If it stays offshore or even trends further offshore, then we start to think the Carolinas and Virginia are really going to be the main show. One thing that is absolutely certain is the cold. Every single model is showing that Arctic outbreak. There's no model that shows a scenario where we're going to get brutally cold next week. So even if the snow forecast changes, even if your specific city ends up with less snow than currently forecast, the cold is coming. That part you can count on. I want to take a minute to talk about how this pattern developed, because understanding the why helps understand what comes next. We had a fairly mild December across much of the east. Then early January started to show signs of pattern change. The polar vortex, which is the area of low pressure and cold air over the Arctic, began to weaken and wobble. When that happens, Arctic air can more easily spill southward into the mid-latitudes. We started seeing that a couple of weeks ago with progressively colder shots. Now we're getting the most significant one yet. This kind of pattern, where the polar vortex is disrupted and Arctic air repeatedly drives south, can persist for weeks once it gets established. That S, what we are seeing. This isn't a one-time thing. This is a pattern, and patterns have momentum. Looking ahead past this immediate storm and cold shot, the long-range models are hinting at the possibility of another storm system around February 7th or 8th. It's a way too early to have any details, but the pattern looks like it could support additional East Coast storms. What this means is that even after we get through this weekend S storm and next week S cold, we're not necessarily out of the woods for winter weather. This could be an active period that extends well into February. For snow lovers, particularly in the interior Northeast and New England, this is shaping up to be an exceptional winter. For people who are tired of cold and snow, I understand your frustration, but the atmosphere has other plans right now. The silver lining, if there is one, is that we're making good progress through winter. We're almost through January. February is a short month. By mid-March, even if the pattern is still cold, the sun angle is high enough that we start seeing meaningful warmth during the day. We're not going to be in deep freeze forever, even though it might feel that way right now. Let me give you some specific things to watch for tomorrow that will help refine this forecast. First, watch the 12Z European model run. That runs tomorrow morning, and we should have data by tomorrow afternoon. If that run shows a western shift in the storm track, snow chances go up for I-95. If it shows an eastern shift or maintains the current track, then the offshore scenario becomes more likely. Second, watch the GFS ensemble. The ensemble is multiple runs of the model with slightly different initial conditions. If the ensemble members start to cluster around a specific track, that increases confidence. If they re-spread all over the place, that tells us there's still a lot of uncertainty. Third, watch surface observations from the Gulf of Mexico tomorrow. How quickly is that southern energy organizing? If it is organizing faster than expected, that could influence the phasing and timing of the whole system. I am going to do a full update tomorrow evening with all the latest model data. That update is going to have specific timing and snow totals for every location that people mention in the comments today. So again, if you haven't already, drop your city in the comments right now. I read every single one, and tomorrow's video will be tailored to answer the questions I am seeing from you all. Before we wrap up, let me give you the key takeaways you need to remember from this forecast. 1. A potentially major winter storm is developing for this weekend, Saturday into Sunday. 2. The exact track is still uncertain, which means exact snow totals for any specific location are still uncertain. 3. The Carolinas and Virginia are in the highest probability zone for significant snow based on current guidance. 4. I-95 from D.C. to Boston has a chance for meaningful snow, but it's not as certain as areas further south and east. 5. Regardless of snow amounts, brutal cold is coming Monday and Tuesday for the entire eastern half of the country. 6. This cold looks like it has staying power, potentially lasting through much of next week. 7. Preparations should be made now, not Friday night. 8. Check back tomorrow for a crucial forecast update as models refine the track. The bottom line is this: we retracking a significant winter storm with the potential for historic snow in some locations, followed by what could be the coldest air of the entire winter season. The details will become clearer over the next 24 to 48 hours, but the overall pattern is locked in. Winter is not done with us yet, not even close. I know this has been a lot of information, and I appreciate you sticking with me through all of it. If you found this helpful, it really does help me if you hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, because we're going to be tracking this storm closely over the next several days, and you are going to want to get those updates. Remember to drop your city in the comments for tomorrow as personalized forecast update. I will see you tomorrow evening with the latest models, refined snow totals, and specific timing for your location. Stay safe out there and prepare now while you have time. This is going to be a significant winter weather event, and the time to get ready is right